Hey there and welcome back to XCOM 2. My name is Pete and today we complete another episode of our Legend Ironman walkthrough of XCOM 2 War of the Chosen. Last time we left off, after making a ton of progress, we cleared out the Avengers' last building spot, acquired another engineer, maxed out our resistance contact capacity, built 2 sparks and unlocked the hunter weapons, the Darklance and the Darkclaw. We also had our first real encounter with Sectopods, but in large parts thanks to those new weapons they were no match for us, and so we were able to destroy another alien facility and to remove 1 block of Avatar Project progress as a result. To get us started today then, we are presented with another rumor for alien alloys and delirium crystals, and in our current situation we're not going to say no to that. We still have plenty of projects coming up that we could use this for. After a bit of scanning then, another spark is constructed, this one now our 3rd one. We will take a closer look at who it is in just a moment, but for the time being, and perhaps even for this playthrough, we are done with building sparks. So let's continue with Battlefield Medicine as our next Proving Ground project. This will upgrade all of our med kits and is therefore something we do want to unlock sooner or later.
Interesting choice. I'll send word as soon as we're finished, Commander.
Our new spark, meanwhile, can be found at the bottom of the list here, Roland Jenkins Leroy, submitted by Patreon supporter Tiniest Gigabrain, and looking absolutely fabulous. Roland's biography then is more of a description of the character's origins. We can read here that he likes to punch aliens and blow stuff up and that he's very good at it, so I think he'll be following along in Julian's footsteps.
Dad gave the Spark prototype the kind of voice that he thought would be comforting to me 20 years ago. Things have changed a bit since then. For our purposes, I figured we could use a variation better suited to a warrior.
Alright, and with another one of those mechanical warriors in our roster, let's head back to the world map. Eventually we will take all 3 of them out into another mission to unlock another achievement, but that is most likely not going to be today. Instead, what we are presented with is a council mission in Warlock territory, and this time there is a chance of our chosen adversary showing up, alongside the other 11 guaranteed enemies listed in the top right corner. Now, before we embark on this mission to neutralize another Advent target, let us pay a quick visit to the training center. There are 3 soldiers here who have accumulated a healthy number of ability points, and today we're going to see them all in action, starting with Ranger Heliborus, who will now receive Chain Shot. Yes, I know, he will eventually also unlock the, in my opinion, better Rapid Fire, but having both of them is not going to hurt. This here is done mostly as a precaution against the Warlock, who can teleport upon taking damage, so being able to deal as much damage as possible with one attack is a good idea. That same logic then also applies to Tsunami, who has both Chain Shot and Rapid Fire to choose from. In this case we are going with Rapid Fire though, but who knows, we might just grab Chain Shot later as well. And finally we have Specialist Schwaminian, who so far has been built up to be more of a medic, so let's increase his hacking capabilities now with Haywire Protocol, and since we have that nasty Chrysalid Dark event still active, let's also give him Scanning Protocol, which is a great counter against burrowed Chrysalids. Who knows, maybe we'll even get to see that in the next mission. One last thing then, since the Warlock might show up, we will of course bring Templar Logan along, and that means it makes some sense to purchase Mentally Awake from the GTS, so that Logan will now always start a mission with 1 point of focus. This will also make it slightly easier to unlock a certain achievement, but more on that later. For now then, this right here, our squad, QT, Tsunami and Julian return from the last episode, while Schwaminian, Heliborus and Logan round out the roster. Equipment-wise, you can see everything important right here. I have once again shuffled around weapon attachment and PCSs to suit their wearers. At this point we can also quickly purchase the Beam Auto Pistol for Templar Logan, and I think this deserves some special treatment, he will now receive the Superior Speed PCS we grabbed last episode, increasing his mobility stat to a whopping 15, which should hopefully make him an efficient leader in this episode, because as you can see we are not bringing a Reaper along, mainly because last episode showed us that with Chrysalids on the map they are not as useful as they usually are.
Ranger deploy.
Squad green to deploy.
Advent is transporting a high-value VIP through this area on board one of their transport vehicles, and the spokesman would like us to ensure they don't reach their destination. Locate and capture the target if possible. Neutralize them if necessary. Don't leave any hostile forces standing in your way. Menace 1-5, target location confirmed. Move to engage. Eliminate all hostile contacts.
So, here we are then. It hasn't been too long since we faced a mission of this type. Once again, we need to kill or preferably capture the enemy VIP, and as you can see in the top right corner, we have 12 turns to do so. The map is also not terribly large, so this should be doable, and we are also dealing with an entirely urban environment, which actually makes me question whether or not we'll find some chrysalids on this one. They were also not listed in the Shadow Chamber enemy overview, while during the last mission they were, so we might be in for something a little less annoying here today.
Rücke zur Zielposition vor. Feindliche Einheiten entdeckt.
Our first enemy part, meanwhile, is quickly revealed. We are dealing with a shield bearer, an Archon and a heavy mech. But for now we are concealed, so let's move up as far as we can, and then we can take a look at what our enemies can come up with. Alright, quite a bit of patrolling there, and we also saw some additional enemies further in the distance by the VIP's car. I think I spotted a Muton and an Archon, so we should be careful not to attract their attention as we are in fact now engaging. Let's open things up with an armor-piercing pistol shot from Sharpshooter Tsunami. Alright, this now reveals us and draws in the other enemies, but thankfully only the ones in this group. We can also see 2 more enemies on the ground floor of the building. Looks to me like we're dealing with another shield bearer and an officer. For the time being though, let's focus on the enemies at hand, and with the mech almost dead, let's shift our attention over to the Archon. First we can use lightning hands, and then a regular sniper rifle shot with the Darklance as well. Alright, good work from Tsunami here. Now we move on to Schwaminian, who, thanks to blue screen rounds, is guaranteed to kill the mech.
Big deal.
And with the mech's overwatch now removed, we can move up with Julian and QT, which gets them both into positions to land guaranteed shots against the shield bearer, although we do have to make sure to have QT fire first because of holo targeting. After which, Julian is then guaranteed another elimination.
Doesn't seem all that difficult to me.
This now also drops some loot and leaves Templar Logan to deal with the Archon, and we can use Rent for this to already give him his second point of focus.
X-ray neutralized.
Alright, there we are, 3 enemies down, 8 more to go, and we have thankfully not attracted any further hostile attention. So let's finish the turn by scouting ahead a bit more with our still cloaked Ranger Helleboris. That reveals the part by the car to be 2 Mutons and an Archon. Let's move just a tiny bit closer to also get line of sight with the VIP.
VIP im Schlepp. Target identity confirmed.
Alright, and there we are, with a parry on Logan that now brings our turn to an end. Let's see if the Warlock shows up now that we have revealed ourselves.
Hier sind mehrere Feinde.
Okay, he does not, which now also means that he's guaranteed to show up next time. Our enemies meanwhile seem to be moving, at least those below us. We can also hear the faint stomping of a Sectopod, but thankfully we do not see it just yet. Now, since we have neither Warlock nor Chrysalids on this map, we can use Schwaminian's scanning protocol for its intended purpose, and that's to get a better understanding of the area around us, as well as the enemies inside of it. Now, as you can see, this does not let us look into the fog of war, but it does mark any creatures inside of it. Those creatures could of course also be civilians, but the 3 down here, those might be enemies, and if they are, they have a Sectopod among them, so we should be careful. For the rest of this turn, meanwhile, we will just lay low, or at least that was the plan.
I'm as graceful as a gazelle.
Unfortunately, the enemy line of sight indicators did once again deceive me, and so, all of a sudden, we have activated the Mutons and the Archon. This is unfortunate, but I think still solvable. The Mutons' hit points and armor do not scale too well into the late game, and so a grenade from QT here will already do a sizable amount of damage.
Grenade out!
It also destroys their cover, but weirdly enough also breaks line of sight for Tsunami, and unfortunately, despite his absolutely massive movement range, Templar Logan cannot get close enough for the melee strike, at least not without revealing himself to those other 2 enemies we have also already spotted. So we are left with no other choice but to activate overdrive on the one who started this mess. Thanks to the high ground, Julian's first shot is still guaranteed to kill one of the mutants. For his second shot, meanwhile, the hit chance is only 98%, and well, for Julian, that might as well be a 50-50 shot.
Observe how it's done.
Thankfully, though, he does not miss, and that leaves only the Archon, who at this point I'm 99% sure will either retreat or use blazing pinions. In other words, nothing that is immediately threatening to us. So let's loop around the corner a bit more with Logan, and then go on Overwatch with Tsunami and Helleborus. And indeed, that looks like a retreat to me. Good thing we have Tsunami ready with the reaction shot. She also hits for 10 points of damage, but unfortunately the Archon does not seem to be the only enemy we have to take out on the next turn, as the Advent Shield Bearer and the Officer now move in.
Cover the flanks!
And not only that, the Shield Bearer here also flanks Helleborus and now reveals him. On the bright side at least, we put him on Overwatch as well. So, only one more turn on the loot and 3 enemies active. The Officer is also well hidden somewhere downstairs, and we also still have one last enemy pod lurking somewhere in the shadows. Still, let's take things one step at a time and once again begin with Tsunami, this time only with a regular sniper rifle shot, the only thing she can really do here. That gets the Archon down to 4 hit points, and that means it's time to max out Templar Logan's focus.
Target down. I've got eyes on admin troops.
Well, yeah, there was always the small chance that Shomin's scanning protocol would not reveal these enemies at all. Here they are now, including a Sectopod, and our turn is halfway done already, not to mention that we also still have 2 enemies right behind us. However, don't worry, I'm actually quite confident that we can solve this. I'll show you why in just a moment. For now, let's move Helleborus up to the window here, because that is where we saw the Officer move. And indeed, there they are behind full cover and with 18 hit points. So I think it's time to dig a bit deeper into the action economy, and that means it's time for the axe, which actually also hits, but unfortunately our target dodges. Up next then, we employ the recently unlocked chain shot, but not against the Officer, instead we're targeting the Shield Bearer. The hit chance might be a bit lower, but the crit chance is much higher, and we will only need 1. And indeed, there it is, that's the Shield Bearer taken out, and that also triggers Implacable. And well, with all remaining enemies on the map already active, we might as well move. After all, we still have some loot to grab. An advanced laser sight and an advanced conditioning PCS, certainly nothing terribly exciting, but of course we can always sell them on the black market. Now at this point, the fight is of course far from over, so let's move up next with Grenadier QT, who can now unleash her chain shot against the Sectopod. And thanks to various aim bonuses, both shots are guaranteed to hit. Alright, so far so good, that's 29 hit points left, still doesn't really get us anywhere close to winning this fight, but we have 2 more people left to act with, the first of them being Julian, who can now use his bombard ability for a bit of extra damage and also blow up the truck. Alright, 18 hit points, that is certainly getting us closer, but still we have 4 enemies remaining and only 1 more soldier left to act with, but Schwaminin over here is now going to pull off an absolutely crucial move, or at least I hope he will, as we actually have a 96% chance to obtain the distraction hack reward here, which if successful will recover all action points we have spent on this turn, effectively giving us an entire second turn for free, and well, with a 4% chance of not getting this and for this mission to probably end in a disaster, I think I'm willing to take those odds. Alright, luckily the distraction is a success, and with that we effectively earn ourselves 1 more turn, and that, I think, makes the situation a whole lot more manageable. Now, after a free reload, Sharpshooter Tsunami can grapple herself a little bit closer, but before we take the shot, let's send in our Grenadier just to shred whatever armor we have left on the remaining enemies.
This is for you.
And with only 12 hit points left on the Sectopod, let's see if a pistol shot from Tsunami can't just get us the kill. Alright, so far so good. That also unlocks the Meat over Metal achievement, because we did indeed kill the Sectopod on the very same turn we encountered it, albeit not without a bit of trickery. Still, we are actually far from done hunting for achievements, which is why with our next move here we send in Julian to engage the officer. As expected, that does not get us the kill, but that's quite alright, because we actually want Julian to take some damage here. Templar Logan, meanwhile, can take care of the shield bearer. And after Lightning Hands does not get him the kill, Vault will do so guaranteed. Now the Stun Lancer, meanwhile, will remain standing for a little while longer, and we can actually make sure of that by using Run and Gun on Helleboris and then throwing a Frost Bomb. You might already be able to see where this is going, as we now also dash in with Schwaminian, and Tsunami can move in a bit closer too to end our turn. On the enemy turn then, the Lancer remains frozen, and that brings us to the Officer, who does take a bit of a detour to get to his shot, but eventually takes aim at our Spark.
Menace 1-5, be advised, hostile interceptors are inbound on your current position. Firebrand has a limited window to provide extraction.
Alright, 8 more turns to extract the VIP, I think we can handle that. Julian, meanwhile, is left standing with only 5 hit points, which is less than half of his maximum HP, and that is actually exactly where we want him to be. The game has an achievement that rewards us for having a Spark unit survive a mission that it started with less than half health, so I'm hoping to unlock that achievement in the next episode. For now though, it's time to kill the officer, but we actually do not want to do so with Julian. As a matter of fact, in this rare case, we do hope that he misses, so let's decrease his hit chance as much as we can by moving him back a bit, and then let's hope that Julian does Julian things on the 59%er. Alright, so he actually hits this one, but luckily the officer dodges, and that means we now have a guaranteed kill on our hands with QT's flamethrower. Keep in mind that we need to rack up at least 1 kill with every single heavy weapon in the game. This here now marks the 3rd one behind the shredder gun and the rocket launcher.
This might burn a little.
Finally then, we also need to successfully skulljack every single type of advanced soldier in the game, and so far we have only been successful on the officer, which is why we have preserved the Lancer over here. And unlike Van Dyke in the last episode, Schwaminian also succeeds, and we can now pick one of 2 skull mining rewards, and since we have no need for a facility lead and the chance is lower anyway, let's go for the intel cache here with 58%. And unfortunately, what looked like we were just barely able to succeed eventually fails, and so Schwaminian will now take a few points of neural feedback damage, but the Lancer is still taken out and we are 1 step closer to another achievement. So at this point, there is only one thing left to do. Let's move in with Logan to subdue our VIP.
Status confirmed. Target package in custody.
Alright, and with that taken care of, we can move the rest of the squad towards the evac zone. I do expect some reinforcements, but I think for the most part we are already in the clear.
We're picking up an enemy transport inbound on your current position.
And indeed, there we are, we have reinforcements dropping in right on top of the evac zone. So let's set things up for the Overwatch ambush. And in doing so, I also completely forgot to pick up the VIP with Logan. Either way, we'll have plenty of time to grab them once this fight is over.
Come get some.
And there they are, the usual suspects, Mech Trooper, Lancer and Purifier. Let's find out how many of them remain standing after this.
Advent troops here. It hit the plane.
You know that was good.
Hit the armor.
Alright, the Lancer is down, the Purifier almost so. The only enemy standing at full HP is the Mech Trooper, but obviously not for long. First, we can get rid of its armor with a guaranteed hit from QT. And then we can follow that up with a pistol shot from Tsunami. And that's enough to grab us the kill, so at this point, with only one enemy left standing, we can already move Logan into the evac zone, where he is still close enough to the Purifier to kill them with Volt.
Hostile terminated.
And there we are, that's all enemies taken out, and to cut this one shorter, let's jump right to the finish line. No further enemy reinforcements were showing up, and so eventually it is Grenadier QT carrying the VIP into the evac zone, and with that we can get out of here and bring another successful mission to an end.
VIP secure and in position for evac.
Status confirmed. Mission accomplished.
This is Firebrand. VIP is secure.
Alright, there we are. Not a flawless mission, but that was very much intended. Although I have to admit, having that distraction hack reward as a backup definitely made things easier. Without it, I certainly also would not have rushed in with Logan so carelessly, but you have to make the most of what the game gives you.
And despite the destruction left in their wake, XCOM refuses to let go of the ways of the old world. They will continue their wanton and reckless crimes until the entire world burns around them. We are grateful to the Elders for their support in ending this menace once and for all.
Back at home then, no promotions, but a rather unfortunate injury time for Schwaminian here with 17 days. Having lost only 3 hit points, I think that also could have been shorter. Next to the loot we recovered, we also capture enemy VIP Amy Jackson, this one once again not a patron-submitted character, which is just fair in my opinion, considering that we will never see her again.
Hello, Commander.
And so we now claim the full mission rewards, 104 units of intel and 225 supplies, both of which will go a long way towards making contact with the next region. But at least for the remainder of this episode, we're not going to do that. Instead, we are informed that our next rumor here would give us a soldier, but without any further information about rank or class, that is not much to go on. And at least for now, I would argue that we need alloys and Delirium crystals a bit more.
Avenger plotting new course.
Our scanning then brings us to the completion of the Void Rift training for Psi Operative Esteban Red Fighter Flores, and not a second later, Mad Potato Lewin has also learned Soulfire, so it is now time to assign 2 new abilities to train. And we are starting with our Potato Farmer, who I think will now learn Insanity. This gives us another way to potentially mind control enemies, and it can be especially useful against the Codex, which might actually come into play soon, but more on that in just a moment. For Red Fighter Flores, meanwhile, we could now upgrade his Soulfire to Soul Steel, but I think we'll go with Inspire instead. Yes, despite the presence of the bond-made mechanic, this is actually still quite useful, mainly also because Psi Operatives tend to be unlocked rather late in the game, and with that and the fact that they need to be trained inside of our base, the chances of forming high-level bonds are drastically reduced. So this ability kind of makes up for that, I think, and is therefore a good choice in my opinion. Moving on then, we can continue scanning, but not for long, as we are just about to finish studying the Codex Brain.
Commander, we're making progress piecing this thing back together, but it hasn't been pretty.
Our soldiers completely disabled this unit in the field.
What we're hearing is merely a byproduct of electrical impulses. I assure you, it is well past the point of feeling pain.
I'll take your word for it, Doctor.
I'm sending you a new sequence now.
These are coordinates. Return coordinates. Think we've got a point of origin. Well, part of one.
Something else. Something underneath. One moment. The unit is attempting to block further access.
That's not all it's doing. I'm losing the data we've already decrypted.
Almost there. Just one more adjustment.
Forget the data. It's accessing the power core. Overriding my safeties. Increasing power levels to tie in. Sever the connection.
There. Some sort of fail-safe protocol, I imagine. The Codex must have intentionally overloaded the interface to prevent any further theft of information. Still, I believe I was one step ahead of it.
That's an enormous amount of data.
Yes, and I expect it may take some time to decipher.
Better get started. I don't think we're gonna be able to do that again.
I'll proceed with the necessary research and preparation. With your approval, of course, Commander. I'd also suggest we look into those coordinates.
That's if I can reconstruct the data we lost in the transfer. I just hope it was worth it.
New objective added.
Alright, a bit of plot progression here as we have unlocked the next steps in the main story. We now need to decrypt the Codex data, and we might also want to take a look at those coordinates we just uncovered.
We're making progress, Commander. I've updated our objectives based on the latest findings.
In the field, the Codex appears as an anomalous form in an almost constant state of flux, seemingly only present in our world for milliseconds at a time. However, it was apparently not immune to the effects of conventional weaponry, having dissipated before leaving behind this object.
So, like I said, at this point we could now immediately move on by looking into the encrypted Codex data, but I think, at least for the moment, let's head back over to the regular research labs.
I am ready to begin on your order.
What we want to do at this point is to unlock powered armor, not because we really need its immediate benefits, but because it unlocks a whole chain of other stuff that we will eventually need. Some of it is even required for additional achievements.
I agree. That is an important task, Commander.
And since most of the small steps in that chain take a few days to unlock by themselves, it is a good idea to get this out of the way early, not to mention that the armor suit it unlocks immediately is also not too shabby. So, at this point, let's head back into the world map to continue scanning, where we are also immediately confronted with our next objective.
I've updated our latest operational objectives, Commander. We've established contact with the local resistance forces in this region, Commander. We're ready to move on the coordinates we pulled from the Codex.
So yes, at some point we should probably investigate the Codex Brain coordinates, but we won't have to do that right away, and considering that we will be facing 17 enemies and a guaranteed Warlock appearance if we do this as our next mission, and considering that all of those 17 enemies are either Andromedons, Codexes or Chrysalids, I think it might be better to just keep scanning for the moment.
Our action together is complete, Commander.
This now brings us to the completion of our next Covert Action, which we mainly just did to advance Sharpshooter Alyssa West to the rank of Colonel, and we will take care of her in just a moment, but for now let's assign the next Covert Action, and I think the choice here is going to be an easy one. We are going to unlock Insight Knowledge. This effectively increases the tier of all weapon attachments by 1, so for example it turns an advanced scope into a superior scope, but, and this is crucial, it would also turn an already superior scope into an even more superior scope, increasing percentage bonuses from plus 15 to plus 20, and numeric bonuses for things like autoloaders, stocks or expanded magazines from plus 3 to plus 4. In other words, it is very good to have this. I am actually not quite sure if it also affects the Hunter's Darklance, but if it does, that would be insane. Either way, let us now send out Specialist Van Dyke for that small hacking bonus, as well as Sharpshooter Smoothie.
We will work hand in hand with our new ally.
And since we cannot afford to have another specialist injured, we will also assign the intel, and then we can send them on their way. At this point then, let's also quickly take care of Sapphire West's promotion to wrap up the episode. At the rank of Colonel, we have the choice between Serial and Fanfire. Serial basically allows her to keep firing her sniper rifle until she runs out of things to kill, while Fanfire gives her 3 pistol shots at the same target, and combined with blue screen rounds and the Darkclaw, this can be extremely powerful. Still, we are going with Serial for now, mainly because I want to reserve Fanfire for Zanami, but as soon as Alyssa here has enough ability points, we will most likely grab it too. In the right circumstances, it can definitely be the better of the 2 abilities. And with that, I think we are done here for today. Once again, some good progress, this time also in terms of the whole completion aspect. 1 more achievement is unlocked and we've gotten a bit closer to a few more of them. And we'll see if we can't unlock another one with Julian in the next episode. For today then, I hope you enjoyed this one, and if you did, then I would be very happy if you could leave a thumbs up. As always, if you like what I'm doing and want to support me and my channel further, then you can of course go ahead and subscribe to stay up to date, grab some merch over on shop.petecomplete.com, or check out and maybe even pledge to the Pete Complete Patreon. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.